Hello, everyone. I'm Johnnie Alexander, and I'm so excited to be here today. This is the very first episode of a new program called Novelists Unwind. We're going to be interviewing inspirational authors, and I'm so excited that my very first guest is my critique partner and friend, and we both write for Revell.
Yes.
Patricia Bradley. So we've known each other since we were put into the same ACFW, that stands for American Christian Fiction Writers, critique group. It was an online group, so we didn't actually meet in person for probably another year or so.
Oh, it was 3 or 4 years.
Was it that long? Oh my gosh, the time just goes by so quick. But we were put in the same critique group. Neither of us were published, but we both had big publishing dreams. And the years went by, and eventually those dreams started coming true for both of us. And we both ended up at Revell, which was really cool. So I'm very excited to have Patricia with us today. We're going to talk about her writing journey and especially about her newest book, which releases when? Pretty soon.
September the 5th.
September the 5th. And then we're also going to talk about some of the other books she's written. So I'm going to let Patricia tell you a little bit about herself first, and then we'll start talking about writing and her stories.
Okay, I'm Patricia Bradley, and I live in Northeast Mississippi. I have with my rescue kitty, Susie. She is the second one, and I see her over there climbing. I tried to lock the door, but that didn't work. So she can actually open doors. But when I'm not writing, I like to throw mud on the wheel and see what comes up.
Yeah, I actually, behind me.
Okay.
This is something Pat made for me, one pen and one pencil in it, that I keep on my my bookshelf.
You're supposed to drink out of that.
I like it. I'm not a coffee drinker though.
Yeah.
So here we go. All right. Well, you got your start writing romantic suspense, still writing romantic suspense. You've also written what we can call clean romances, sweet romances. Why romantic suspense?
Well, it's what I always read. I started out reading Mary Higgins Clark, I think. She was one of the ones I read, and I don't know, that's just what I've always gravitated towards. And I always like a little romance in it. I think my books are better described as suspense with a twist of romance.
Yeah, I think that's probably, yeah.
And mine are more about the relationships. It's actually much easier for me to kill people than it is to get them together.
Yeah, just keep that in mind. You don't want to get on Pat's bad side. She will not kill you, but she might.
Well, your name might end up in one of my books, so don't cross me.
Yeah, don't want to do that.
I'm going to get me a t-shirt that says that.
I know, we need to do that. I've heard you talk Pat and I also teach at writers conferences together, which is a lot of fun. We really enjoy doing that. And you've talked about your writing journey taking quite a long time. So I wondered if you would mind just talking a little bit about that.
Most people, I don't know that they would stuck with it for 32 years.
Yeah.
But, and I always ask myself, well, what if I'd quit at year 31? But I did. I started writing back when I was 35, and I'm not going to say when that was. And the only reason I never was a writer, I knew I could write if I wanted to, but my main thing was reading, and I love to read. And one night when I couldn't sleep, because I don't know about everybody else, but when you turn a certain age, you don't sleep as well at night. So I'm laying there staring at the ceiling, and all of a sudden I see in my vision this man, and he's staring at me. And to his back is a window with smokestacks smoke coming out of the smokestacks. And he turns and he looks at me and he says, "This wasn't the way my life was supposed to turn out." Wow. Now, that's the first time anything like that had ever happened to me. So I began to imagine what his life was about. And when I couldn't sleep at night, I would entertain myself with stories of what his life might have been like. And so eventually other ideas came, and they wouldn't quit bugging me till I started writing about them. And the very first short story I ever wrote for Woman's World was published, which is
That's great.
Amazing. But I think it was a God thing. I mean, honestly, I mean, how else could you explain sending 4,500 words to an editor when all she wanted was 2,500?
Oh my God.
And then she ends up buying it. I mean, that has to be a God thing.
Wow. Now,
So,
did they cut the story down, or did they?
she did. She cut it to the required amount.
Wow.
The next time I submitted, it was a new editor. I had learned my lesson. I only sent in, I think, 2,500 words for a 2,000 word submission. And they bought it, but I had to cut it that time. And I learned so much. Well, the third time I sent them something, I learned my lesson, and I sent it in to the word of what they wanted.
So there you go. Sometimes you just have to, even mistakes can turn out okay if the writing is really good in its story. And I've read that story, and it is a very tightly written story, but to me.
That's the last one. I don't think you've read the first one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
The first one was called The Snow Leopard.
Oh,
And yeah, it was, yeah, I'll have to.
The other one.
But I really learned, my writing is very lean, and I think that that's because my first writing was for short stories where every word has to count.
It does, yeah. Because it's amazing you could take a 4,500 word story and pretty much cut it in half.
Right, that's what she did.
A good story. That's really.
And it still made sense.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it made sense.
And then I took 500 words out of the second story and didn't miss a one of them. I mean, it really made the story much tighter. And then the third one, which is called Blood Kin, and it is on my website.
That's okay. ptbradley.com. So you can go there and read that short story. That's really cool.
It's what you call a biter bit. The biter gets bit.
Oh, I've never heard that phrase before. Is that like a? I think Poe coined that first. Really?
You know, it's where the
biter gets bit. Yeah.
Yeah, the biter gets bit.
Oh my gosh.
I love to write those kinds.
There's a twist to it. Yeah.
The twist. Yeah. The O. Henry twist or the Poe twist. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was O. Henry. O. Henry called it the biter.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. That makes really good sense.
I didn't think Poe sounded right.
Oh, Henry does sound right though, because he does those twists too. Okay, well, most of your stories, you have the Logan Point series, which was your debut novel, and the ones right after, and they're all set in Mississippi near Memphis.
Right.
And then your cold case stories are also set in Memphis, and so were the heartwarming stories, right?
No, the heartwarming stories were set in a little southern I think I set them like near Meridian, as far as the middle of the state.
Okay.
Right. I didn't really want to confuse things.
But the others, yeah. And I have read all these stories, but it's been a while because I have the blessing to read Pat's manuscripts before they get sent to the publisher, and then I don't necessarily read them again after.
And a lot of times they change.
And they do sometimes change. So, I don't have the up-to-date stories, but I love being able to read the stories. We're going to talk a little bit about, you were telling me before we hit record about Gone Without a Trace. I'll show you this book. And a little interesting story about the cover of this one, which is is it the second?
That's the third book in the series. Right.
The Logan Point series.
That's Livy. And in all the other books, Livy had blonde hair. She's in the two before it. And so when they sent me the cover, I sent back, I said, that's great, but Livy has blonde hair. And they sent back, well, we couldn't find the model, the shoot didn't go well with the blonde, and so this is really cute cover. And I said, okay. So I decided, I went in and I added early on when she had a major problem come up, that she went home and dyed her hair, because that's how she dealt with problems, is that she would change the color of her hair.
So,
And I thought that made a cute twist.
it did. It did. And it's really fun that you can take something that happened that, you had no control over that. They weren't going to change the cover and use that to develop a character. I mean, to add something to a character. And
Yeah, it add depth to the character.
Exactly.
And my cat has jumped up in my lap.
Oh, well, if she shows up on the video, that's okay.
Yeah.
I've got my 2 dogs put away so we don't hear them barking. I hope they don't bark while we're on.
Yeah.
The Memphis cold case. We don't have much time left, but let's talk about these for a couple minutes. The Memphis cold case novel,
Right.
the first one, right?
Right.
It's delayed.
Yeah.
And you got, no, not on this one. It's the next one. What's the name of the second book?
Justice Buried.
That's
and
the one that's coming out.
Yeah, this is.
That's great. And tell us the date again. When does it come out?
It comes out September the 5th.
September the 5th. So just another month from now. And you got to do some really cool research.
I did.
Tell us about that.
Okay, I called the Pink Palace and asked if I could do a tour.
Okay, for people who don't know, tell a little bit about what the Pink Palace is. I had never heard of it, so
the Pink Palace was originally built by the guy who founded Piggly Wiggly. He built the first actual grocery store. And so he started building this huge mansion, and he used pink marble for the outside. And I don't think he ever intended that to be the name of it, but that's what everyone in Memphis called it, was the Pink Palace. And this was back in the 30s. But unfortunately, he was before his time and he went broke. And the city ended up with it, and then they ended up making a museum out of it. And it's called the Pink Palace Museum. It has IMAX theater, and it has a telescope. It's a really neat place.
It is. I got to go through it before I moved in, and it was a lot of fun. Now, part of it was closed, so I didn't get to go into that main building itself, but I got to go through a lot of the museum, and
Did you get to go through the palace itself?
No, they were closed for renovation. So you were really fortunate because you not only got to go inside the palace, you got to go inside.
I did. I went from the attic to the basement looking for places to put bodies.
I love it.
I actually used the attic in the ending.
Yep, I remember that. Yeah.
So that was neat. That was that was a fun time. And I think I've asked if I can do a book signing there.
That would be wonderful.
So I haven't heard back, but I'm hoping.
Yeah. So you live not far from Memphis. You grew up in Memphis. So that is just like except for the heartwarming stories, that's where you.
Yeah, it's easy for me to set it there because I know so much of the area. And in the next book, it's the Elvis impersonator book. And I also feature Elmwood Cemetery.
I'm sorry, what?
Pardon?
I said I interrupted you. So I thought, because I read the book. It's really great. What did you say? I
said I also incorporated Elmwood Cemetery in it because I love that cemetery. It's 80 acres. It's an 80-acre oasis in heart of downtown Memphis.
Yeah.
So
if you've never been to Memphis, get Pat's books because you will. You'll get a feel of the history and the things that are important. And then the little town of Logan Point is actually a fictional town, but it's based on
Corinth, Mississippi, and Pickwick.
Yes.
I just moved them east about 100 miles.
Just put them where you want to put them.
Moved them west.
West, and you're allowed to do that when you write stories. You're allowed to.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, and I do want to set up one at the Orpheum at Memphis. It has a ghost.
Yes, I've been there. That would be cool. That would be really cool.
I mean, Memphis has a lot of places that you can set a book
where you can and have murders.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the Bass Pro Shop.
Yeah, the big pyramid.
Mm-hmm. That would make a good place.
That would make a good place, and then you get to go and do tours and things of these places too.
Right.
It's really cool. So that's a big perk.
Yeah.
One more thing before we go. When I first met you, your name was not Patricia Bradley.
No. Well, it actually was.
It was. But tell us a little bit about writing under a pen name.
Okay. My married name is Pat Trainum. but I knew I did not want to write under that name because it's a difficult name to understand, difficult name to spell.
Yeah.
So I early on decided I would write under my maiden name, which is Bradley. And when I signed the contract with Revell, they said it's not a deal breaker, but we really don't like. I wanted to write under P.T. Bradley, and they said it wasn't a deal breaker, but they really didn't like the initials. And could I come up with a different first name? And I'm going through all the names with my mother, and I'm saying, "How do you like Samantha Bradley?" And she goes, "Eh." And so I said, "Well, how about Olivia?" And she said, "Well, you know, if I hadn't thought Patricia was pretty when I named you that, I would have picked something else."
Aww.
So that's why I write under Patricia Bradley.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
And I know it was a bittersweet time, and not to get too sad here, but you had a difficult time when your first book.
Right. It released the day we buried my mother. But she held my book in her hands before she got sick, and she was only sick for a very short time.
So that was precious. She got to know your dream had come true.
She got to see my dream came true.
Right
now, she would probably be fussing at me because I have written 8 books in 4 years.
Yes.
And
that's a hard worker.
Yeah. And I'm thinking about slowing just a little bit. I don't know. I don't know what else I would do though. I love writing. So
I know, and she's really good at it. So again, the first Memphis cold case novel, I think some of the characters cross over, but it's not really considered like a typical series, correct?
No, it's not. They're really standalones.
Yeah, they are standalone.
There's a cold case involved and in a current case, and usually there will be a character from the first book that will go over to the second book,
but you don't really need to read them in order. But if you want to get a good start, this is the first one.
Right.
Justice Delayed, Justice Buried. If you want to show the postcard again, the book's not. Neither of us have copies of the book yet. Justice Buried, and that's the one that takes place in the Pink Palace. And then
Justice Betrayed is the third.
And that's the Elvis impersonator?
That's the Elvis impersonator in Elmwood.
Wait a whole nother, probably 9-10 months for that one to come out?
It'll be out in June of next year, almost a year.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah. And then, there's a fourth one that I'm working on, if we have time, and it is going to be Justice Denied. No, Justice Delivered.
Justice Delivered. I don't know about that one.
Yeah. No, it is actually... in the first book, David Raines is the cold case leader.
Oh, yeah.
And his wife was murdered 5 years earlier, and his sister was missing, and it's all going to tie in with human trafficking.
So you might want to read them in order. So anyway, we've given you that, and then the Logan Point series again. The first one is Shadows of the Past. Right. This is the third one with the redheaded model, Gone Without a Trace. But you can find those, Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, Lifeway bookstores, Barnes, wherever. She's also written. I should have had these out so I don't have to stretch, but here we go. Matthew's Choice and the Christmas Campaign, two heartwarming novels that are also really good. So, any last words for your fans?
Well, I just thank you so much for having me. I love to connect. It is fun talking about writing and talking about the books. Thank you.
This has been great. This has been so much fun. I hope you've enjoyed our first episode of Novelists Unwind. If you've seen the header on the website, you know it's a beach scene and there's 2 Adirondack chairs, and so we're going to pretend that's where we were sitting while we were doing all of this. It was on that beach, and I invite you to join me again next week when our guest will be Jane Kirkpatrick. Jane is really known for the historical research that she puts into her novels, so it's going to be really fun to talk to her. One last question. I almost forgot to ask the most important question of all. When you are done with a hard day writing or finished with a book, how do you unwind?
Oh my goodness. Occasionally a glass of wine.
Okay.
Or knitting. I have my grandson's having twins. My granddaughter's having a little girl.
Yeah.
I have 3 blankets to make.
So she's going to be busy knitting after she gets the project she's working on now complete, right? Yeah. All right. Well, Pat, thank you again. This has been so much fun. And everybody, hope to see you again next week.
Thank you, Johnnie.
You're
Bye-bye.
welcome. Johnnie Alexander from Novelists Unwind.
Bye-bye.
Bye.